How's it going, everybody? Hope you're having a wonderful day. And I'm finally here to give my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again, the revival of my favorite TV show of all time, Daredevil. It's no secret that I absolutely adore the Daredevil show from Netflix. I have the poster hanging up right there. You see in the background in all my reaction videos now. Right next to it is a signed autograph photo by Charlie Cox. Yes, I actually met him, and it was super awesome. He's such a nice guy. I'm really wearing a Daredevil shirt right now. And seeing the thumbnail, I was holding a Daredevil action figure. And you can see another one sitting right above me. I love Daredevil. Not just the show, but the comics too. Every comic I've read of Daredevil in them, I've absolutely loved. Daredevil is my favorite Marvel character. It used to be Spider-Man. But honestly, after all these years, I think it is Daredevil now. So, was Born Again worth the wait? After the original series was canceled in 2018. Yes and no, in my opinion. Overall, I liked it, but I didn't love it like I loved the original show. And it's kind of three main reasons why. Well, technically four, but the fourth one's more of a nitpick. But I want to talk about what I liked first. First of all, the acting is great. I'm not surprised, especially with the returning cast. My absolute favorite scenes have to do Charlie Cox and Jon Bernthal back as Daredevil and Punisher. They're already amazing in the previous shows. We already knew that. And it's like no time has passed since then. They're once again incredible. Those are absolutely my favorite parts of the show. And everything with Fisk and Vanessa, all great too. And Wilson Bernthal, I think his last name, as Poindexter/Bullseye. Best villain since Kingpin, don't come at me. Like, he is incredible. I wish we got more from him though, because to me it kind of feels like a lot of the scenes were cut. But we get into that later. So Born Again is a spiritual successor to the original show. It's set, I thought it was 5 years later, but apparently it's actually 7. So it's 5 to 7 years later after the original show. And the basic plot is Wilson Fisk has become mayor. He's trying to outlaw vigilantes. Meanwhile, Matt gave up being Daredevil for spoiler reasons. And then he comes back to being about halfway through the show. It's the general plot. So if you don't know my super spoilery thoughts, short form, I enjoyed it, but I hope season 2 improves. So I'm going to get into spoilers now. This show begins with the death of Foggy. It was speculated that it was going to happen. I didn't want to believe it because I love Foggy as a character so much. But they did. More or less, it starts with Matt, Karen, Foggy. They just left the office to go get a drink at Josie's. And then Foggy gets a phone call. Matt hears about it. So he suits up as Daredevil to go save this guy called Benny. But then it's revealed that the guy threatening Benny actually wanted to know where Foggy was. So as Foggy's trying to come back, he gets a shot in the chest by Bullseye, Dex. He has a sort of a costume now. I believe it is actually Orange 2, an appearance he had in the comics, but it didn't last super long because his classic look looks way better. Fingers crossed for season 2, he does get a proper costume. I did see the set post him for season 2, and it looks like it's the same costume, just he has the thing on his head now. Hopefully that's temporary, actually gets like a proper outfit because he really needs one, especially since you see Daryl's outfit in season 2 looks awesome. It's like the Shadowlands suit, and he finally has the damn logo, so like thank you God. But anyway, I'm getting myself. Yeah, so Dex shoots Foggy and then shoots some other people. And then Daredevil comes in before he's about to shoot Karen. Bullseye says his classic lines like, "Hello, Karen, it's nice to see you again." So Daredevil and Bullseye start having a fight, and they try to do a one-shot, but it doesn't really hit the same as the other one-shots from the old shows did. I think for two main reasons. One, they rely on CGI doubles for a lot of it. Like, there's a lot of CGI involved, and you can tell. And the CGI doesn't look particularly amazing, which is one of the problems with the show, is that the CGI is not great. Like, it's straight out of, like, Daredevil 2003, the movie CGI. That's what it looks like. And the other thing, there's a lot of smoke in the Josie's bar, so it's hard to see actually what's happening. And I know Dex threw a smoke grenade in there, so that was intentional. But I don't know, it just, like, what made the one shot so special in the old show was that they showed you everything. or almost everything. If they didn't show you something, it was highly intentional. But yeah, I think the fight does get better once they leave the bar and go up the stairs, and the camera follows them up the hallway, and then Bullseye's throwing all the fucking knives in Daredevil. He looks like a goddamn pincushion by the end of it with all the shit in him. Yeah, but then up on the roof, and Daredevil has him, and here's Foggy's heart stops. So that's when Foggy dies. And then Daredevil throws him off the fucking roof. He tries to kill Dex. I know this is something people had a problem with, that Daredevil straight up tried to kill somebody. So it kind of goes against his character. I disagree personally, because I've read a lot of the comics, and it's not like Daredevil's never killed anyone in the comics. Arguably the best Daredevil run of all time, the Chip Starsky run, literally starts with Daredevil killing someone. Granted, it's by accident, but still, that run's amazing, and it literally starts with that. And I think it makes sense in this scene that he literally has the guy, like right in front of him that did it. And I think at that point, he kind of stopped thinking and just threw him off the damn roof. So I was fine with that, trying to kill Dex. I was fine with it. From that point on, he stops being Daredevil. He kind of gives it up. I interpret it as maybe since he did almost cross that line, he was scared if he kept doing Daredevil stuff, he would actually just start killing people. That's how I interpreted him retiring, but I don't know if that's entirely what the show's going for, but whatever. So yes, we pick up a year later. Matt, he's at a new law firm with the new lawyer partners. This lady we saw in the opening. I forget what her name is because she's a really boring character. So, and the rest of the first episode basically introduces to like the new cast. So, I'm gonna get into one of my 4 main complaints with this show. Well, 3.5, because like I said, the 4th one's more of a small nitpick. But the new side characters just aren't that interesting to me at all. I find them all kind of boring. As I just said, Matt's new lawyer partner, I don't remember her name. Like, she's just his lawyer partner. That's the extent of her character goes. Now, there's nothing to really latch me on to why I should care about this character. Another character I don't really care for is Matt's new girlfriend, Heather. She's just the girlfriend, and she's also a therapist for Fisk and Vanessa. But they kind of resolve themselves, so it kind of goes nowhere. She's just the girlfriend, and I'm sitting there watching her scenes, and I'm like, I don't want to compare too much to the old show, but like, I was just picturing Karen in any of this, and it's like, it would have been a lot better. Fisk has this new meat rider guy, I forget what his name is. He's the son of the guy from The Sopranos, I think. And his character is just that he meat rides Fisk. That's his entire character. He's like if Wesley wasn't interesting. Pretty much. I'd say the most interesting new character they introduced is this guy called Cherry, who's this ex-cop who became a PI, and he works with Matt. I know some people don't like him. Think I do, because he's the only one with any resemblance of a personality, you know? Otherwise, the rest of the side characters, either I straight up forgot to talk about, or... Well, there's 2 I like. Maybe 3. First one being Bibi Urich, who is the niece of Ben Urich from the old show. And she has one of my favorite elements in the show, which is that she interviews the people of New York to see how they react to everything going on during the show. I like that element of this show, that they really showcase how New York reacts to the events of the show. I like that. You know, so I'm interested to see what they do with her character. And they do reveal she is aware that Fisk is the prime suspect in her uncle's murder. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. Next is the police chief. I can't remember his name. You know, I thought he was kind of interesting because he was willingly standing up against Fisk, and he knew from day one you couldn't trust Fisk. He's like, no, you're always going to be the kingpin. You can't change. Like, he accepted that, and it came to bite him in the ass because he tried to recruit, I think Sheila is her name, who's someone who works for Fisk, who's another character I think is somewhat interesting because she's kind of right in line between, like, trying to be on board with Fisk's plans, but also being like, these are the legal things we have to do in order to do these things. And she ends up turning on the police chief and recording their conversation, and then Fisk turns the guy's head into a crushed watermelon. which I guess Fisk is the fucking Hulk now. Like, the way he can do that, like, Jesus Christ. Like, I know Fisk is a bit stronger than your average guy, but, like, Jesus Christ, that was crushing somebody's head. Then decapitating his own the fucking car door was brutal. He started Mortal Kombat this guy. Like, yeah, it was pretty brutal. Yeah, because those are the side characters I do like. But then the rest of the characters I just already like are the ones I already have a connection to from the old shows. Like Daredevil, Fisk, Vanessa, Karen, Foggy, I guess, Frank Castle, Dex. All these characters I already like because I watched the other shows. So I don't really give the show a pass for having the characters I already like in it. So that was one of my big problems with the show, was that the new characters just aren't all that interesting, apart from 2 or 3 of them. So kind of the first big story arc going on outside of the Mayor Fisk thing is the trial of Hector Ayala, who is the White Tiger. And basically it starts with them going down to the subway station, and he sees these guys beating on this guy, so he gets involved. And one accident slaps and falls in front of a fucking train and dies. And the other guy pulls out a badge revealing that he's actually a cop. So he gets arrested, and they basically try to frame him for intentionally murdering a police officer. Of course, we know it was an accident, but that's what Matt is trying to prove, was that it was an accident. But the witness he saves ends up kind of lying on the stand. So Matt does this thing I'm a little conflicted on, where he exposes Hector's identity as White Tiger in the courtroom without asking him first. Like, I get Matt was desperate at that point, but I really think he should have at least asked Hector first. It's like this is pretty much the only play we can do to keep this going, otherwise you're just going to jail forever. Like, I wish he would have asked him beforehand. And Hector even says it later. It's like, you should have asked me first. But yeah, so he exposes them, and then he brings in all these witnesses to talk about all the good things the White Tiger has done. And he ends up getting a not guilty verdict, which is, yeah, hooray. But then later that night, when he puts on the outfit again and goes out on patrol, hears someone crying for help. So he's obviously going to go help, because he literally says to Matt, it's like, to me, being White Tiger is not just putting on a costume, it's like not breathing for me. Like, it's something I need to do. So he goes to investigate, and then he ends up getting shot in the head by a police officer wearing a Punisher skull. They are adapting that arc from the comics where police look up to the Punisher. And unfortunately happens in real life too, because some people should really not be cops, put it lightly. Hector gets murdered. It's a little different from how it's in the comics, because I was aware of the, I haven't read the full thing myself yet, the trial of Hector Ayala from the comics. But I know it's a pretty similar thing, where he gets framed for a murder, and Matt has to represent him. The endings are the biggest difference. We understand in the comic ending, he is found guilty and kind of loses his shit in the courtroom. And Matt calms him down, but he ends up getting shot in the courtroom steps. Well, in this show, he gets the not guilty and just dies later. Then we get to episode 4, which I think is where the show really started grabbing me again. Where Matt's like looking into Hector's murder. And he goes to the scene of the crime, and he finds the bullet casing and has the Punisher skull on it. So he goes and sees Frank Castle, and this is probably hands down my favorite scene in the whole show. So he goes and confronts Frank, they start talking, and you can tell there's a lot of animosity between them, I won't exactly describe them as friends, but they're kind of begrudging allies, more like as a vibe. And then Frank brings up Foggy, and then Matt keeps saying it's not about him, it's not about him, it's not about him. And then Frank just keeps saying say his name, say his name, say his name. If it's not about him, then say his name, you coward. And then Matt kind of loses it, and he hits Frank, and he tries to apologize, and Frank's like, what are you apologizing for? That's the most honest thing you've done since you got here. It's all about him, and then Frank starts talking about it. He's like, you hear his voice, don't you? He's like, and then, man, John Berthel as Frank Castle has got to be in the top 5 best comic book castings of all time. I don't even care, man. He is amazing. When I rewatched Daredevil Season 2 to prepare for Born Again, every scene with Punisher, I was like, this is the best part of the entire episode. Every scene with him. He is amazing. I may want to go back and rewatch The Punisher, so I'm probably going to go do that pretty soon. But yeah, so then Frank's like, it's like, every time I start, I hear my little boy talking to me. He says, get him, daddy, get every last one of them. And God, man, I was fighting back tears for that. John Berthel, him as Frank Castle, he knows how to go from intense to vulnerable on a dime, man. He is amazing. And then, like, Matt starts tearing up, and then Frank's like, what's everyday? Bullseye gets to go to the chow hall and eat a slop, and you feel good about that, and Daryl loses it. He's like, he got life, and, like, Frank's like, what about Foggy? Did he get life? And Matt's like, Foggy's like the kindest person I ever met. People like you and me, we can never match up to that. And then he leaves. And yeah, man, hands down, that was the best scene in the show. I love that scene. I really remember the rest of episode 4, if I'm being honest. Like I said, a lot of the show's kind of a blur for me. Then we get to episode 5, which you can tell was from before they rewrote everything, because it's a really self-contained bottle episode. Basically what happens is Matt goes to get a loan for his law firm from the guy who plays Ms. Marvel's dad. So that's like a little like MCU cameo. But then the bank gets robbed by his Irish guys, so Matt has to deal with it. That's the whole episode. Not too much happens there. It's a perfectly fine episode, but you can see why they released this one and episode 6 at the same time, because really nothing story-wise happens. In episode 5, hell, Fist doesn't even show up. And none of the other side characters really show up too. It's just Matt at the bank and those involving characters. That's it. So now I'm going to really talk about there. Then we get to episode 6, which I think is where the show really found its stride. This is the one I love how it opens with both Matt and Fisk, like they're right there on the edge of going back to their old selves. And I love like the back and forth parallels between them. And Fisk says from the first episode, it's hard to kind of get rid of your violent nature, or something like that, which is a big theme of this show. Is that people like Matt, Fisk, Frank Castle, they really can't help it. Like what they are. Yeah, so short form, there's a serial killer out there called Muse, who was not around for long in the Daredevil comics, but he made an impact because he instantly became a fan favorite, and his costume looks amazing, so props to the costume design for that. It's like he looks right out of the comics. And both Fisk and Matt kind of find out about it, and it's actually what White Tiger was looking into before he got arrested. And so Hector's niece, who I believe is going to be the next White Tiger, she goes to investigate it, and then her mom calls Matt and is like, she hasn't been back yet, I don't know where she is, and Matt's like, don't worry, it'll be okay. And Fisk creates this anti-vigilante task force to deal with the threat. And then Matt, he's gonna go call the police to, report it, but he just kind of goes, fuck it, which is the first time he's ever said the F-bomb, which I thought it worked. And he suits up as Daredevil again with really poor CGI as he swings off to go deal with it. And then we get this super awesome fight between Daredevil and Muse. This is hands down the best fight in the whole show, because they don't really cut. They just show you the moves. You can tell what's happening. It's well lit. They're not really trying to hide anything. You can tell they're really proud of it too, because this is the fight they promoted the most in the marketing. And meanwhile, Fisk is fighting Adam, who had an affair with Vanessa, who she made Fisk swear not to kill him, but Fisk imprisoned him and has basically been starving him and eating in front of him to torture him. Fisk gives him an axe and is like, it's like a tool to great equalizer, in his usual voice. So yes, he has a fight with Adam while Daryl fights Muse. And it's the cutting back and forth. I usually hate when they cut between two different scenes, but I think it worked here because the fights parallel each other as both characters get back into being who they are. So I really liked it. It ends with Daredevil ties his baton around Muse's neck, pulls him and chokes him out, and he goes and saves the girl and Muse escapes. And Fist beat the shit out of Adam. And that's pretty much where that episode ends. So I really like that episode. Episode 7, I hated. I thought it was the worst episode of the whole show. So this is the one that wraps up the Muse storyline. Very quickly, they tell you who Muse is. It's this guy who studied judo. And he's going to go see Heather. And he basically reveals he plans to kill her. And Daredevil finds about it and he goes and fights him. And the fight scene is ass. They just keep cutting, every second. and you can't even tell what's happening. This is my fourth loose nitpick with this show, is that some of the fights are not good. I meant this one and the fight in episode 5 between Matt and the Irish guy. Just, there's too much cutting. I hate that shit. Let me just see the fight, you know? You can tell this was from before the reshoots, because this fight was not good. Like, the only part I thought was kind of cool is when Matt shot his baton through Muse's shoulder. I thought that was pretty sick. But otherwise, fight's pretty ass. Ends with Heather grabbing the gun and shooting Muse and killing him. And I thought, it's like, oh, they're finally going to give Heather some character development, you know? Like, how does a therapist shooting someone, granted is in self-defense, how does it affect her? But they kind of give up on it after, like, one scene. And I couldn't help but think of the original show when Karen killed Wesley and how that stuck with her through the whole show. And I was like, it's just better. It just is. And then Fist Task Force, they take credit for killing Muse, because, you know, that's how police are. And yeah, that's where that abominable episode ends. I really didn't like it. Then we get to the last two. It's from what I understood, for basically up until now, a lot of the show's been using footage they already shot. I was in the impression when they did the creative overhaul, they were going to reshoot the whole thing. They didn't. They only reshot some scenes and then used the rest of old footage, which is one of my big problems with this show, is that sometimes the reshoots are really obvious. Sometimes you can tell, like, they really should have reshot that because it was terrible. Like the fight between Daredevil and Muse in episode 7. That was a really crap fight. They really should have reshot it. Anyway, so episode 8 and then episode 9, the finale, they're both entirely new footage. So 8 begins with Dex, Poindexter. He gets moved from private custody into, like, the public area. I forget what it's actually called. And he wants to see Matt about it. You know, he wants to make a deal with Matt. And so, and then Matt also gets invited to a party. Well, Heather gets invited, but she only gets a guest, so she brings Matt along. So Matt goes and sees Dex, and it just, I think it's another good scene, and pretty much he gets to the point where Dex pisses off Matt so much he grabs his head and slams it on the fucking table over and over, and then calls the guard and is like, hey, guard, he hit his own face on the table, which is pretty funny. But Matt's going to regret that decision later. Because we get to the party, and there's one shot I do really like, which is where it's a one shot. It's not a fight scene, where it's going from characters to characters. It's like showing them, and then the camera pans over, and then it's these other characters. Or we follow characters walk with the camera, and it follows them. I thought that was really well done. I like that shot a lot. Yeah, so Matt goes, meets up with Heather at the party. But what he did to Dex, I think he probably regrets, because you see Dex is in the prison's hospital area, medical area, I don't know what you call it. And he's messing with something in his mouth, and as the guard comes to recuff him, he notices that, and then Dex opens his mouth, he reveals he managed to break a tooth off, and spits into the guard's eye, which is pulled straight from the comics, so I like that. And then, yeah, he gets his hands free, and there's a pair of fucking scissors right next to him, so he breaks them apart. He kills the guard and kills the doctor, and he gets a disguise, and then he's the fuck out of there. And like, he's out. At the party, Matt finds out it's Vanessa that hired Dex to kill Foggy, and so he does this really funny thing where, like, he wants to talk to her, so he pretends to bump into them. He's like, oh, can I take over? And he starts dancing with Vanessa, and Heather starts dancing with Fisk. And Fisk is talking to Heather. He's like, you ever wonder why your boyfriend's so fond of vigilantes? Like, he's like kind of throwing hints in there that Matt is one. And then Matt's talking to Vanessa. He's like, I know what you did. And Vanessa's like, oh, you need to relax. And then we see someone grab a steak knife from the kitchen. I wonder who that is. And then pan up, we see a guard with a steak knife in his neck, and Bullseye has the sniper rifle. I wish they would have shown a scene of him learning about the party, because we see him escape and then he's just kind of there. So that's a little nitpick I have with the episode, because I mostly like it. I just needed Just one scene of him seeing the party on a TV or something like that. That's all I needed. So we understand, okay, that's where he's going. Yes, but anyway, so he gets to the gun, and then he's going to shoot Fisk. And then Matt gets in the way, and he takes the bullet for Fisk. And that's where the episode ends. But that does parallel what Dex said earlier in the episode when he's like, you're a good person, Matt, but isn't that what good people do? They defend their worst enemies. So I like they brought that line back. And then we get to the final episode. It starts with Fisk needs a crisis, and he also wants to get rid of Matt Murdock. So he sends this guy Buck to go deal with it. And Fisk, he cuts the power to the city, causing New York to go on blackout, and there's, of course, riots and all that stuff. And the corrupt police start just shooting random looters and then being like, no, this is a mass vigilante. And they put like just a hat over their face to make it look like a mask. So Matt escapes from the hospital. He goes home, and Frank's waiting for him. Matt's, you're the last person I thought I'd see here. And Frank's like, yo, no, make a cup of coffee. And their back and forth is great. Hands down, the best part of the episode was them going back and forth. Frank's like, is that a new costume? What they call you, Nightgown Man? And Matt's like, oh, you get a haircut and aftershave just for me? And Frank's like, yeah, I did it for you. And he tells Matt, like, look, someone called me, told you after you, pretty much that's what I'm going to do. And the task force is coming, yes, to get Matt Murdock. And Frank's like, look, when they get here, I'm not playing patty cake. I'm going to butcher them. So Frank's basically just telling Matt, it's like, I'm going to do what I do. So you just have to accept it. So the task force comes in, Daredevil suits up, and Frank comes in, and they fight them off. There's a little bit too much slow motion for my liking. I felt like I was watching a fucking Zack Snyder movie with all the slow-mo. But it wasn't too bad. Matt has this weird line where he tells Frank to stop. Like, he's surprised Frank's doing what he does. Frank already told him he's going to do it. But yeah, so they have their fight with the task force. Frank finds another bullet casing with the Punisher logo on it. He's like, hey, I think we found your guy. And so yeah, that's when Daredevil learned White Tiger was killed by this cop called Cole North, I think his name is. I think he's also from the comics. Yeah, so finds out, and he hits him, and Frank's like, finish him off. But Daredevil doesn't want to because he doesn't kill. And then Frank's going to do it, and Daredevil gets in the way, and then they get into an argument. But Matt hears grenades, so they jump off his balcony, and Daredevil just grabs him and grapples to the safety. And Matt's like, you're an asshole, Frank. Frank's like, yeah, I know. But then a car pulls up, and it's Karen. She's back finally after being gone the whole fucking season. And yeah, the writing immediately gets better as soon as Karen shows up. So they go back to Frank's little hideout to stitch themselves up, and Matt and Karen go dig up the files that Foggy had. Well, Frank's like, oh, I don't care. I did what I said I would do, but we all know Frank cares. He doesn't like showing it. So Matt and Karen go investigate. Frank hears on the radio, like, where most of the task force is. So he goes there himself and kills a bunch of them. He ends up getting captured. And they're all like, oh, like, we look up to you, like, it'd be an honor to serve with you. And Frank's like, oh, you think you know me? You think you know my pain? You're all a bunch of fucking clowns. He basically just tells them to fuck off. So I'll look forward to seeing Frank kill more of them, which is something from the comics. I hope they do that thing from the comics where he has someone, like, dangling over a fucking rooftop. He's like, you want to... And Frank's like, it's like, you want someone to look up to? His name's Captain America, Like, I love that line. Matt's gonna go try and to infiltrate the place, but Karen's like, no, you're gonna die. There's too many of them. And plus, Matt's also still injured from getting fucking shot. So Daredevil's like, we need an army. The power returns to the city. Fisk declares martial law and sets into curfew, all that fun stuff. And then Daredevil's talking to Karen one more time, basically about like since Foggy died, he never really felt like himself anymore. He wasn't sure he was. And Karen's like, look, Foggy believed in you, I do too, no matter what you want to call yourself. Either it's dark, light, whatever, it's still you. So then Karen and Matt, they go into the front of Josie's bar. Matt's, of course, in the Daredevil suit, because I don't think those people know he's Daredevil, except for Cherry. And it's a few, I guess, good cops and that one police detective lady whose name I don't remember, who was in like 1 or 2 episodes before that. And he tells them, it's like I can't see a city, but I can feel it. We can beat Fisk. It's like, because we're the city, not him. We're the city without fear. I really like that line. And ends with this great shot of, it goes from Um, the window of Josie's bar, it slowly zooms in, and it's Daredevil surrounded by like newspapers, and there's like red light flashing on him, and like the music kind of quells up as it cuts to credits. So the rumors for season 2, he is going to assemble an army of vigilantes to fight the task force, and it seems like that's where they're going. So fingers crossed, we get to see Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and Iron Fist come back. I'd love to see the Defenders come back. That'd be awesome. I also would probably expect Echo to appear. That would make sense to me. And maybe Kate Bishop. I don't think Clint Barton Hawkeye's gonna be there, but maybe Kate Bishop Hawkeye. And obviously no Spider-Man, because legally he can't be in the shows for some fucking reason. It would also be cool to see Moon Knight, but, you know, he's not a street-level character in the MCU for some reason. But whatever. And then there's a post-credit scene where Punisher is in prison, and he tricks this really stupid-ass cop, or just normal cop, depending on who you ask, into shaking his hand, and he breaks his fucking arm and grabs the keys, and he's gonna bust out. And I heard Punisher is getting his own Disney Plus special, which John Berthel is actually writing, so I assume that's where we'll see Punisher again. I hope he also appears in season 2, because I love Punisher. But yeah, so that's where Born Again season 1 ends. So just to recap, my 4 main problems with it were: 1, the really boring new side characters. 2, with the really poor CGI. 3, the reshoots. Like they really should reshoot the whole thing. I think it would have been much better. And 4 is more of a loose one, which was some of the fights are not very good. But there was stuff I liked about the show. I think at times cinematography is very good. I love the music. The music was great. Some of the fights were really good. The acting is amazing. So let's bring it back to the question. Was Born Again worth the wait since Daredevil was originally canceled? I think it was, but I also think season 2 has a lot to improve on. So I am excited for season 2. I hope they improve on season 1, since they don't have to rely on old footage. But yeah, I've been rambling for a very long time. This is going to be by far my longest video. I'm not surprised with how much I love Daredevil. But yeah, those are my very long-winded thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. What did you think of this first season? Did you love it? Did you not like it? Did you kind of have the same feeling I did, which is there's a lot to improve on? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. Have a great day. See ya.